Hi, it's Ashley. Welcome to Wedding in a Pinch. And in today's video, we're going to go over wedding venues. Sorry about the little noise in the back. The heat just kicked on. I live in Michigan and it's cold. So I'm going to enjoy the heat a little bit. I'm sorry for the noise. But let's jump right into it. Your state and city is going to affect one, your budget, and two, what venues you can afford. And that's a shocker, but it does. The major cities cost 3 to 4 times more than a small little hick town in the middle of the country. And that can be surprising, but that can also be a challenge because if you live in a small little hick town somewhere, you only have a very few small window of, oh, can I book that venue? Oh, can I get it? Sometimes if you live in a small city, you gotta be the first one on it. So, understanding what in-house and out-house is when it comes to wedding venues. Now, wedding venues, they don't tell you a lot. They just give you a piece of paper and a lot of people sign them. Stop signing contracts without reading them. That's your first biggest mistake ever as a do-it-yourself bride, groom. Don't sign nothing without reading it. And here's why. In-house means a venue have already has a relationship with these venues and they're going to give you a page or a booklet and you have to use those venues. And here's the kicker. If you don't want to use their venues and they say, okay, you can bring in an outside venue, but hey, you have to pay more. That can get costly versus an out venue. Out venues are where, hey, we're letting you use our space and you can bring in whatever venues you want. That could be good, but here's the kicker. Only 69% of wedding venues provide tables, chairs, linens, and some don't even provide that. So 69% of all these wedding venues, only 69% provides your tables, linens, chairs, and centerpieces. If you're lucky. Now you need to start talking about hidden fees. Because let's face it, most people just sign their paper. That's what I said earlier. Don't sign nothing without reading it in detail. When I say detail, I mean read every single word, read every single dollar amount. Because if your venue say, hey, you can do valet parking, you need to understand that's a fee. You need to understand that's going to cost you some coins. Just like sometimes when people have their caterers come in and they still have outhouse or in-house catering, you still get paid or taxed a little bit in that contract to have those caterers work. So your price is going to be a little higher. You're going to have to understand that not every venue can be trustworthy. I'm not saying all, but some will tell you one thing, and if that person's not there on the day of your wedding and it's not in your contract, you could be screwed. Let's say a wedding venue said, hey, on your wedding day, you can have your linens for free. You don't have to worry about that. Make sure that's in writing. Make sure that's in that contract. Because if it ain't in that contract, and the person that walked you around on that day showing you the venue ain't there, you're not getting free linens. And that's an extra $2,000 to $3,000. You need to understand that your time, your date, and your budget can affect this. And I'm going to give you a couple of hints here. I understand what I'm about to say might shock y'all. I understand what I'm about to say might hurt your feelings a little bit. I'm going to say sorry in advance. If you can afford it, try to go with something that's not advertised as a wedding venue. Because mentioning wedding would cost you more money. I understand I said that in my first video. If you have not watched that, please go look at the 5 things I advise to do when you're first beginning to do your wedding as a budget bride. But let's back to this thing. It will cost, honey. It would affect. So we all need to be aware that it's okay to go to other places. Do not mention wedding. Just say you're having a family gathering. Yes, I say honesty is key, but if you can, just say family gathering. If you do have to say wedding to be upfront and be honest, be honest. Don't be sugarcoating it. Don't fudge the lines. But no, anytime you say wedding is going to be more expensive. And that's the last time I'm repeating that one during this video. So your time, your date, and your budget can affect your wedding. Here's how. If you're getting married during peak season, understand those venues are probably booked because most venues get booked between 6 to sometimes 10 months in advance. You heard me. Venues get booked from 6 to 10 months in advance. So if you got engaged in November, you need to book a wedding venue by January if you want your favorite venue and you know it's a hot venue. So what I advise you to do is sit down with your groom and or your bride, whatever you guys sex are, more love. That's all I can say. Sit down and understand what you guys are looking for in venues, understand what you guys can afford, understand what you guys can splurge on. So that way you guys can tackle this head on, get everything knocked out, and understand some things won't be in your budget. Some things won't be able to make it. And that's okay because as a do it yourself bridegroom, you can make that happen. With just a little bit of work magic, a little bit of crafting, we can get it popping. Your time, if you have an early wedding, here's the kicker. It's gonna save you money. Hey, it's gonna save you money. I'm just saying. Because if you have a later wedding, these people are gonna be looking for appetizers, lots of booze, lots of water, sometimes tea, dinner, and a midnight snack. Thanks to pictures, yes, I understand people want to be coming to weddings to eat, but if you can slide and have a wedding between 10:30 in the morning till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, have it. Because the only thing you can get away with serving mini waffles with bacon. I'm not saying make it look cheap, fancy it up a little bit, but we're being cheap but make it look fancy. You can get away with just serving mimosas and donuts, and that way people can just go home and finish eating. But understand your time will affect it because the later time you having in the day, the more money is going to run you. And your budget, if you have an early wedding, you can save a lot because a lot of venues will work with you. And here's the kicker. When I mention your wedding venue, make sure you understand if you could come in the day before to set up without cost. Because some venues will charge you to come in the day before and do a setup. You heard me. Like I said, don't sign your contract for any wedding venue until you read the fine print. Make sure you have everything in that contract that they promise you before you put your hind cap on it. And make sure you keep your receipts. Because here's the kicker. Back in the old days, you could say, hey, here's $50, hold my spot. Not no more. Not no more. Okay? Most venues nowadays are going to be looking for that 150 to $1,000 to hold your wedding spot. And like I mentioned before, wedding locations, venues, whew, they fill up quick. I mean, some of them are even booked a year in advance. Like here in Michigan, we have one venue that I know of that is fully booked for 4 years. Even during the pandemic, it's booked for 4 years. I am not joking. So make sure you know exactly what your budget is. Make sure you understand all your contracts and make sure that you and your groom are on the same page. Yes, I know most weddings are about the bride, but your groom need to be included too because it's still about him as well. And I'm going to give you a tip. If you can, find a lovely wedding photographer. When I say lovely, find someone that's great and wonderful, but see if they can do a 4 hour packet. I understand that's not a lot, but that can help you save on your budget, but also get those beautiful, beautiful pictures. Because if you do a 4 hour package, you and your photographer and your groom can sit down and see how you guys can work it into your wedding day to have 4 hours of pictures and not miss out on the wonderful details. You can always do it a little bit before the ceremony, during the ceremony, a little bit after for family pictures, and maybe that first dance and cutting cake. But that's about setting up your timeline, which I will talk about in a later video. Second of all, when you go to do makeup, ladies, if you don't feel comfortable and there's no one in your bridal party and your family that can do makeup, see if you can ask around and find a regular makeup artist who could come on site. But remember, they do charge a fee to do makeup trials. So make sure you understand how much that is. And make sure you understand if they charge by the mile or if they just charge by the hour. Some wedding makeup artists will charge you by the mile. When I say by the mile, if they live 5 hours from your city, they could charge you between $5 to $15 per the mile. So make sure you understand that. But make sure you have a good makeup artist. Make sure you look around. Make sure you read and understand what they're offering. Look at all their pictures on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Make sure you understand what they're offering. Now, I touch photographer, I touch makeup artist. Let's talk about catering. If you know somebody in your family that is a great cook, has a clean house, I'm going to repeat it, have a clean house. Because you want somebody who's cooking your food to have a clean, thorough house. I'm talking about grandma with all the bleach and you walk in and smell like cleaning the pool. Yeah, clean house. Make sure if you have somebody in your family cooking for you, make sure they understand your guest count and make sure they understand exactly what you're looking for. Keep it simple if you're having a family member do it. Now, if you're hiring a caterer, you need to make sure you understand what your menus are offering. Because if you add an extra item or if you add or disadd something, it can be a charge, it can be more. And when I'm talking about catering, make sure you and your caterer are working together to understand what you can afford in your budget. Make sure you guys understand what you guys like and dislike. And if that's not a thing, try to find someone that you know personally that can cook wonderfully and can do bulk food. And if you're doing your own food, I say do it yourself, buffet. I understand a lot of people. Yes, I say buffet because that way you can make multiple of it, keep it in a warming area, and make sure you can pull it out if something get empty and fill it back up. That's why you need to have somebody you truly trust on the day of your wedding to run it for you. Because if you're looking to hire a wedding day of coordinator or a wedding planner help, they can cost you in between 150 to almost 6 grand for any type of services you contact a wedding planner for doing a wedding planning. I mean, what they could charge you for setting up your timeline. They could charge you for organizing your wedding. They could charge you for setting up your wedding, and that's money we don't really have. So make sure that you are giving yourself and the person you're trusting your big day with, make sure you can truly trust that person. Because as a do it yourself bride, that person need to come all the way through and make sure your wedding day is set up nicely. So make sure you and that person are sitting down a few weeks, even months before your big day and sketch everything out, write everything down. Like I said in my first video, if you have that organized corner, it'd be easier for that person to find it. So we touched on photography, makeup, catering. Now let's talk about alcohol. When I say your venues charge you extra fees, they will charge you extra fees for alcohol. That's why a lot of people do cash bars. Because some venues, they don't do cash bars, but most venues do cash bars. And not because alcohol is expensive. So you need to understand if there's an extra fee at your wedding venue to do booze. And if so, are you willing to give your guests one or two free drinks? If you are, that's going to cost you between one to probably $4,000 just for that one drink. So make sure you understand what the bar situation is when you're talking to your wedding venue. And here's the kicker. I want every bride and groom that watch my videos, get wedding insurance. I'm going to say it one more time. Wedding insurance. It will save your butt if anything goes wrong. Music, I'll say Spotify, whatever playlist you can. If you want, you can splurge on a DJ. You can splurge on a band, but make sure it can fit in your budget. I'm just here to give you advice. I'm not here trying to tell you how to spend your cash because it's not mine. It's your cash. So at the end of the day, you know what you and your groom are looking for, or you and your partner are looking for when it comes to your big day. But budget for the splurges, budget to make some cuts, and budget to make some sacrifices. I know a lot of time I say budget because budget I'm sorry to say it, it's a word that we all go to hear during wedding planning. And that's just honesty. Now, let's get into the big thing I think everyone's wondering. You keep mentioning guests, but not really talking about. This is how your guests can affect your budget in your wedding venue. You have to understand, you, your groom, whoever you have in your bridal party, the mother and father of the bride, the mother and father of the groom, that's part of your guest list. Yes, you have to feed those people. You have to help them with clothing. You have to help them with flowers, and whatever else you want them to have. If you're an average bride, yes, you do pay for the dresses. Yes, you do pay for the tuxedos. And yes, you pay for shoes. And yes, some brides even pay for hair and makeup. But it's your discretion on what do you want to pay for. But know that your bridal party is part of your budget. And they're also part of your guest list. That's why I say keep to no more than four. Four bridesmaids, four groomsmen, and that includes your maid of honor and your best man. So technically, you only really have three bridesmaids, three groomsmen. The fourth person is your maid of honor or your best man. And if you do a flower girl, keep it to one because you still gotta feed them too. And if you're doing a ring bearer, make sure you have money to feed them too, and probably get them an outfit. Now you see why I say your guest list doesn't start with your guests. It starts with your wedding party and your immediate people who are helping you plan this wedding. So make sure you understand that. And here's the big wedding venue that I was holding back on. Your wedding officiant is going to run you between $250 to almost 9 grand, depending on where you live. You heard me correctly. Wedding officiants are no longer cheap. They're a big part of your day. So what I say is get on the research. Find someone who fits your style. Find someone who fits your budget and book them. Some wedding officiants don't like to be booked that far in advance because anything can happen. So just give them a retainer fee. Like, hey, I'm gonna give you like $200 something. Can you hold my date until we know we get closer to the day? For that way, you know you have your wedding officiant. Yes, you can go online and get a free person, have your family do it for free, but you want your wedding venues to fit your style. You definitely want the wedding officiant to fit your style. So look hard, dig deep, and understand you have to be prepared to pay when you mention the word wedding because it's not cheap. And when you're looking for your wedding cakes, I have a separate video for that because I can tell you a few places to go that are super, super, super cheap that no one goes to. So that'll be in a later video. I understand you guys might have some questions, so please leave them in the comment, like, subscribe. I understand this was a lot of information. I am just trying to give you guys advice as do-it-yourselfers so you guys have a small stress patch. Not a lot, but small. So please like, comment, subscribe, and remember, stay blessed, stay loved, and love your partner.